So my wife and I bought a house in a nice neighborhood and everything was great until I turned around and saw my trash cans knocked over. When we first moved into the neighborhood, my wife and I thought we had found paradise, a quiet little cul-de-sac with neatly trimmed lawns, friendly looking houses, and tree-lined sidewalks where kids could safely ride their bikes. And for the first few weeks, everything seemed perfect until I realized that this paradise came with strings attached in the form of a homeowners association, the dreaded HOA, which I thought would just be a group of neighbors casually keeping the community nice. But soon discovered was more like a mini dictatorship with rules about the color of your curtains, how long your car could sit in the driveway, and even how early or late you could put out the trash. And at the center of it all was one woman, Karen, a bitter, sharp-eyed woman in her late 50s who lived 3 houses down and whose life mission seemed to be making everyone else's miserable. And the very first words she ever said to me weren't welcome or hello, but do you plan on keeping your trash cans visible like that? Which I laughed off at first, promising I'd roll them in, but that was only the beginning because a week later I noticed that after trash pickup, my bins and only mine were mysteriously knocked over in the street while every other neighbor stood upright. And at first, I thought it was the wind until one morning I left for work later than usual and caught Karen herself smug as could be shoving my can into the street while walking her Pomeranian, not even looking back. And I remember standing there in disbelief wondering what kind of adult went out of their way to cause petty inconveniences, but I let it slide thinking maybe she was just having a bad day until the pattern continued week after week. Her petty sabotage turning into more direct harassment when suddenly I started receiving official HOA violation letters in the mail citing ridiculous things like grass exceeding regulation height by half an inch, trash can left out 3 minutes past collection, or garden hose improperly coiled, and every single one came with a fine attached fines that added up quickly. And when I confronted the HOA president at a meeting, he shrugged and said that a concerned board member had submitted photographic evidence of my repeated violations, and I didn't need a detective to know who that concerned board member was. And though part of me wanted to scream in frustration, my wife urged me to stay calm and let it go, but it is hard to let it go when your weekends are ruined by anonymous complaints that you know are from the same woman who deliberately kicks over your bins. And things escalated further when one afternoon I caught her on my lawn snapping photos of my mailbox with her phone, claiming the paint was chipped and not in line with community aesthetics. And when I told her to leave my property, she sneered that she was just doing her duty as an HOA board member, which made my blood boil because by then it was obvious that she had singled me out as her personal project, some kind of vendetta for reasons I couldn't understand. And things took a turn when we hosted a small barbecue one weekend, just family and a couple of friends, only to receive a warning letter days later for unauthorized large gatherings, along with a threat of escalating fines, even though I had seen Karen host her wine club in her backyard with 10 cars parked along the curb without anyone batting an eye. And that was the moment I realized ignoring her wouldn't make her stop. She fed on control and intimidation, and the only way to end it was to fight back, but not recklessly, no. I needed to plan something foolproof because fighting and HOA Karen on her turf meant stacking my evidence, biding my time, and waiting for her to slip. So I started documenting everything, every toppled trash can, every bogus fine, every encounter where she trespassed on my property. I bought a couple of discreet security cameras and pointed them toward the street and driveway. I saved every letter, every photo, every timestamp, building a case brick by brick, and in the meantime, I started paying closer attention to Karen's property because if she was this obsessed with rules, then surely she was hiding violations of her own. And sure enough, within weeks, I noticed that the decorative shed behind her house, partially hidden by her fence, hadn't been approved by the HOA according to their own architectural guidelines, and her back porch extension was clearly built without a permit. Not to mention, I overheard her bragging to another neighbor about renting out her basement suite under the table to a college student, which was another violation explicitly forbidden in the bylaws. And with each discovery, my satisfaction grew because I wasn't just going to stop Karen. I was going to dismantle her piece by piece using the same system she had weaponized against me.